What's going on YouTube? It's your boy Carl Rico Copeland. I'm back, or actually back for the first time with my first ever YouTube tutorial. I'm super excited about it. I can't wait to show y'all everything I know. So a little bit about me. I'm 28. I'm from Fort Worth, Texas, right outside of Dallas. I started off designing in 2013. I was working at Sprint. I was actually a high-level tech support agent at Sprint, and picked up design as a hobby. SoftBank bought Sprint out, laid us all off, and so I had way more time to learn, learn how to use Photoshop and learn how to design. So I was putting in, and this was actually before they laid us off, I was going into work at 11 a.m. and then getting off at 11 p.m. and the whole day I just can't wait to learn more, because I was maybe winding down after I got off. It took me maybe 30 minutes to get home at 11:30, then kind of wind down for another 30 minutes, and then boom, at 12 midnight till 4 a.m. every morning I was squeezing in just so much knowledge about design, because I was just that thirsty to learn. And so that's when I instantly knew, like, this is what I'm supposed to do, because I can't, I'm at work all day and I can't wait to get off work to go do this and learn how to get better at this. So that's when I knew design was for me. So anyway, I started off 2013 doing that. I was in kind of like the mixtape game, like the mixtape Instagram game, for those of y'all that are kind of aware of the climate of where Instagram was back in 2013. I was, I would say the first, not, I ain't gonna say the first, but one of the first wave, not one of the first, but one of the first, like the first wave in that space. But I kind of took some downtime because that had got played out, and took about a year off from it and came back, and it was like 6 million mixtape designers on Instagram. And so then I knew I needed to really learn how to design, learn the fundamentals, learn design theory, because what y'all are going to learn throughout the course of just watching me is that design, the misconception I had for the longest time was design was Photoshop, and that's not what it is. You can design some beautiful things in Microsoft Paint. Honestly, design is a theory. Design is a whole culture in itself, and that's what I'm gonna teach y'all. So I'm super excited about just letting y'all know that the reason I'm doing this is because I'm a graphic designer and I've dealt with entrepreneurs. I'm an entrepreneur myself, and I think 90% of the entrepreneurs that even deal with me, if they didn't have to pay me and they could go do it themselves, and I'm not talking about, complex, special effects and stuff like that. I understand, you just want to be a CEO, but, if you're just starting out and you're a one-man band right now, and, you don't want to outsource to Fiverr to get designs, or, and you just want to whip up a quick Instagram quote with a cool font and a nice background, and all that stuff, then I'll teach you that. Also, I'm gonna teach everything here, so you can, I have different like paths that I'm gonna take you on. So if you want to just learn, like I said, enough to do a business card or some of your promo stuff for Facebook, or I'm here to help you out with that too. And I'm gonna make sure you can, anybody that ever listens to this, you can reach out to me. My Instagram and all of that is gonna be under this video. You can reach out to me whenever to ask any question, in any way that I can help, I'll help. So please don't hesitate to reach out to me. But if you want to learn special effects, if you want to learn how to draw some of the cartoons that I've drawn or whatever, I'll show you how I learned, and I'll show you how I do it, because there's a million tutorials on the internet. But it's about finding, taking, honestly, for me at least, taking bits and pieces of each process that works for you, and then combining it into something. So I'll show y'all all of that as well. So without further ado, we're gonna get into this lesson, because I know y'all like, man. Also, I'm gonna split these sections up too, because I know we all hate watching a tutorial video and the guys talking about everything other than the actual tutorial. Yeah, I know, like I be skipping through them and everything. So we're gonna jump right into it. So first, we're gonna open Photoshop. If you on a Windows, it's gonna open up. It's gonna open up however it does on the Windows. But at this point, I'm sure you know how to at least open a program. This is the first interface that you're gonna see on Photoshop. This is about Photoshop. Okay, this is the political stuff right here. These are plugins, different plugins that I've had installed. In a later video, I'll show you how to put those in. Those are kind of presets that you like, filters, like Instagram filters almost. Like, how you can just run a filter over a photo. This is kind of sort of the same thing, but just on a more technical. This is preferences. We're gonna get into in a later video as well what all these mean, but for the most part, the default should be fine for what we're gonna do today. Services, hide, and all of that. You see that. Then you got over here file, which is where just about any program that I've ever been on, which is where you kind of navigate from in the beginning, at least, to open a new document or open a recent document, or a new document, or go search for a document. This is export. This is when you get into some different file types, that which is something, once again, we're going to go over. That's that. Then you have automate, which is different, just scripts and actions and things, but we'll get into that type of stuff later. Right now, what we're going to jump right into is how to make a new document. But all right, so we're going to open a new document, and this is going to bring us right to our interface. You have different presets, photo paper. They got the sizes, and you notice over here where it says inches. That's you're usually going to work with inches when you're working with, like, print, photos, print, things like that, like things that you're going to print. That's usually when you're dealing with inches. Once again, you see here, and they also have like some little free mock-ups that you see here, little free mock-up templates for like business cards and different things. You notice how it's switching from pixels to inches. Pixels and inches, as far as them converting to each other, it's seamless. So I think, let's see how many. 1 inch is, let's see how 1 inch is how many pixels. 300 pixels. So there's a conversion as far as that goes. And as far as the size of a document, as far as the size of an image or anything like that, that doesn't matter, as far as if you use one or the others. It's honestly, that's a preference thing. However, me, I want to get you in the habit of understanding and using pixels, because if you notice here, you have the resolution, and standard web is 72 DPI, which is the same as pixels per inch. That's just Adobe's fancy, I guess, way of saying it, but DPI is how you'll commonly see it displayed. That's the norm for like the web. And what that is when with these displays that we view these things on, right? There's a color space, and there's a amount of colors that each image holds, right? So depending on the resolution, 72 pixels per inch on on a screen is fine, because you're usually looking at a screen from a certain distance or whatever. 72 DPI on print, though, isn't. And why is because print is something that you would hold close to your face, or you could hold close to your face, or you view it. It's usually the text is smaller on print, so it has to be, or I'll say, if you have small text, then that's when you'll get into that. But that's just basically, I'm just saying that to y'all, to tell y'all that as far as for a lot of stuff that you do, 72 is fine. But if you're wanting to get this stuff printed or even blown up, then I make it a habit for me, honestly, anything to do 300 DPI, because that's, you know, that's to me high def. So yeah, so what we're gonna start off doing is we're gonna make a document, right? And I think Instagram is 1080 by 1080, so boom, we're gonna start there, right? And that's how you open your first document. Okay, so um come back over here to photo or recent or whichever one, and you're gonna come over here, and I always make it a point to name my file before I open it, and that's because I 9 times out of 10 forget. And you know, you're gonna have your tabs open and have a whole bunch of untitled ones, twos, threes, and you know, it's better to have it named so you know what you're looking at. So we're gonna name this one first design. All right, and Instagram standard pixels, you're gonna come over here and make sure that's on pixels. Once again, if you did inches, it doesn't matter, but as far as how everything is displayed, it's displayed in pixels, right? So um, you wouldn't Google what's the size of Instagram, what are the dimensions of Instagram photos in inches. It would, even if you did, it would probably spit back and tell you Instagram photos are 1080 px. If you ever seen that, that's pixels basically. 1080 px by 1080 px, which is 1080 pixels by 1080 pixels. So you're gonna come over here and just simply type those in there. Make sure your resolution is set on 300. You're on RGB color, and you're on 8-bit, and hit create. So boom, you're right here, and you have your blank canvas. Excuse me while I get this annoying brush out of the way. This is your blank canvas. So I'm gonna show you around over here for a little bit, because it's important that you know what this stuff is. You know, before we jump into any design, and honestly this stuff over here too. So first, good first practice thing to do is go over here to workspace and make sure it's set to essentials. And if it's not, or if you don't trust it or whatever, or if you got a brother who might have installed Photoshop on your computer last month or whatever, and you deleted it because it was taking up too much space, and now you want to use it and learn, it would probably carry his settings over. So you just go here to reset essentials, and it'll take you right back to, you know, how it should look when you first open the program. So we're gonna start over here, honestly. So this is the move tool, right? And it's cool that this is happening right now, because it's kind of doing some of my tutorial work for you. You kind of seen what the video just did. It kind of, you know, dragged around. That's how you're gonna move things, and that's honestly the quick way to move things, because transform is what you more commonly use. The rectangular marquee tool, if you can see the little video here, just basically is how you make a selection, and this is going to be the shape of a rectangle. So if you right click any tool, you'll see other tools that's kind of nested behind it. I rarely use the artboard tool in Photoshop, so you don't really have to worry about that one. This is the elliptical marquee tool, which does the exact same thing the rectangular marquee tool does, which is just make a selection. If you have stuff here, then you'll start to understand, and once we go through it, you'll understand. Single row marquee tool. I don't honestly see the use for that, but okay. Also a vertical one, I guess, and that's cool. So now you have the magnetic lasso tool, which probably doesn't have a video. Maybe the lasso tool does. Okay, so this is what you would use if you wanted to quickly, I guess, you know, make freehand selections, just like the video says. You know, you can, let's say you want to only select a face or whatever, you can do that with that tool. Also, you have the polygonal lasso tool, which kind of works the same way, but you make a selection, and you click to set a point. I don't know if you can hear my mouse clicking, but you just click to make a point. And that's also in these two right here are just to make selections. Like you'll start to see how complex it can get as far as making selections. This is the magnetic lasso tool, and it should have a video, but if not, we'll use this and I'll make a note to we'll use this once we get into some complex stuff right now. But for the most part, we don't really have to go too far in that. This is the quick selection tool, which just allows you to make sort of color coded. And let me bring an image in here. Sorry, y'all, don't be on my Facebook. Let me bring an image in here. The goat, by the way. The goat. We're gonna pick an easy. Photo, and this is honestly a low res photo, but we're gonna just for example's sake, we're gonna mess around with it. Okay, so let me run y'all back through the magnetic lasso tool. The magnetic lasso tool, is actually smart enough to, find the edges and kind of make a selection around them. Now, you don't necessarily have to be using this to cut something all the time. Like, that's a misconception, is that, oh, this is only used to cut people out. It's most commonly used to cut people out, but that's not the only use for it. So I just want to help y'all avoid certain myths and things like that I didn't avoid. So and it's not always the cleanest. So yeah, so that's the magnetic lasso tool. Then you have the quick selection tool, which kind of works the same way. You see that you can just it just kind of selects, just makes a selection, and you can alternate your selection by pressing Alt to kind of take it away. But that's what those are. This is the cropping tool right here, and it's really self-explanatory. We've been cropping photos on the iPhone for years, so works the same way. This is probably one of the most used, as far as that I've used, that I didn't understand how much I would be using. I thought when I was learning Photoshop, I thought it was kind of just like, get on with it. Let's learn about some cool stuff. But this is understanding how to use the eyedropper tool is probably vital. So this is the eyedropper tool, and it's self-explanatory. You can sample whatever color is in your image or your document. You could sample it or whatever. So you got the brush tool, and if I'm skipping them, it's because this is stuff that you don't necessarily have to know. Once again, one of the things that I'm always gonna stress on this channel, as far as for my people that's kind of doing this for entrepreneurial reasons, is that I'm gonna a lot of those 4 a.m. nights that I was staying up and learning, I was learning a bunch of stuff that I really didn't have to know. So in the long run, overall as a designer, yeah, it was good that I learned those things. But could I have learned what I was trying to learn faster, and maybe even been better at it faster because I learned it and focused on it? Then of course. So if I'm skipping anything, then that's just because you simply, it's not vital to what you need to do right now. This tool is the brush tool, self-explanatory as well. Control Z is how you undo in just about any program as well. So that's how I'm getting rid of it. But you know, it's the brush tool. It's pretty self-explanatory as well. Um, you're more so gonna use it to erase, but you'll find that out later. So um, you got the paint bucket tool, which which you can fill a layer. You can fill an entire layer or an entire area um, with a certain color, with a sampled color. Oh, so yeah, I should probably tell y'all that. So um, down here, you have the foreground color and the background color, right? So you can actually store two colors. So if I wanted to store this calves wine, or no, yeah, calves wine, and then the gold as they call it, then I would just come here with the eyedropper tool, and now I have those two sampled down here. You see what I mean? So that's something that I should have touched on with the eyedropper tool, but so um, we went over this, the paint bucket tool, and you switch between those by pressing X, or you can press this button. So if I want this to be, wine or gold, then I do that. If I then I come over here, and I could just switch between them. So you can host those two there. We don't really need the blur tool. We don't need that. And that actually leads me into the most important design aspect, I think, for my entrepreneurs. And this is going to be the most important tool, and that's the type tool. It's another one of those self-explanatory tools. And the reason I say that is because a lot of the stuff that we want to do as far as entrepreneurs, we want to make cool Instagram stories, and we want to, promote our items on our Facebook, and that's mostly text based, because a lot of y'all and a lot of us just want, an image of our product, and then maybe some text on the side in a cool font or whatever. Or I've gotten countless times like, how much would you charge me to do a quote over like a faded out beach background with like a cool font? How much would you charge me for that? So type tool is all type based, whether it's even you want to design your own business cards, because you don't want to have your cousin's friend who made you wait too long last time, or you wasn't really satisfied with the design. um so type tool is what is gonna what's is the most important, basically. So we're gonna come here. Okay, this is how you select it. Let me get off of this is how you select it. For my keyboard shortcut wizards, T is a shortcut. Let me get off of it, and T is a shortcut to do the type tool. So we're gonna come right up here, and we're gonna type first design. All right, and congratulations, because you just taken your first step. Like for me and a lot of other designers, man, getting something on that white canvas, you don't understand how long you can sit there and stare at that white canvas. So getting something down, no matter how it looks, you've started, and now the creative juices start flowing. So that's a big thing. So congratulations, you've got something down. However, I'm sure this does not look anything how you want it to look, right? So this is how we're going to explore some different aspects of the type tool. So up here is where your fonts are, right? You can change your font, and you can't really see it because it's blocking it, but you can change your font. I have a million fonts here, which I'm actually going to show you at the end of this video how to install fonts. You know what? I should honestly show you now, huh? Because you want to do this now. Okay, so let's come over here to Chrome. Okay, and there's a like a really big site called The Font. They have all the nice fonts, and yeah, so they got, let's go back to the home page. They got fancy, foreign look, techno, and they even have a bunch of subcategories. This font looks really good. So you're gonna come over here, right? When you see a font you like, you come over here to download it. You hit download, And on the Windows, I'm sure you're familiar with downloading files. It's the same exact thing. Save it to my desktop so I know where it is. It's going to save as a zip file. You locate that file that you just downloaded. It's going to unzip it. The TFF file, this right here, is what you want to download, or what you want to install. So on the Mac, it's as easy as double clicking and hitting install. I believe it's that way on the Windows too. So congratulations, you just installed your first font. So you come back over here. You have to remember the name. What was the name of that font I just downloaded? Body and Soul. So you come over here, right? You come back to your Photoshop file and you just downloaded that font. And so you come to your Photoshop file and you make sure you have it selected, and you just search for it like that. Oh, that must mean it doesn't have numbers. Whenever you have this, and let me zoom in. Whenever you have something like that, that means that this font doesn't have numbers. So I'm gonna have to spell it out, but you can definitely use whichever way you wrote it, whether it's first with the number 1 or first like this. So that's how you change the font or whatever. And some fonts have different variations as far as the bold version, the light version, and things like that, but that's a font by font basis. Also, this is how you change the size of the font. So if you've ever worked in Word, or if you have basically any prior computer, if you got on the computer in the library in the 8th grade, then I'm sure you know how to make a font bigger. So this is basically where you do that though in Photoshop. We're gonna bring that up to about 48. And remember that move tool right here that I told y'all? The shortcut is V, right? But let's act like we didn't know that. We're gonna come over here to the move tool. We're gonna select, we're gonna click, and we're just gonna drag this mug right back in view. Okay, and we know that 48 is a little too big, so we're gonna go to 36. Okay, so it's 36. We're gonna use the move tool once again. That's how you move things, and you're gonna move it right here. My alignment and everything is set to like snap, and I think that's the default, so you should know when it's in the middle. So boom, you should honestly you should really congratulate yourself at this point, because at this point you honestly know enough right now to make a logo if you wanted to, because a great designer can take just a font and make a dope logo. So I ain't gonna leave you hanging like that though, but yeah, you technically know enough to make a font right now. I mean a logo right now. So congratulations. So that's basically how you adjust that. Now pay attention to this over here right now, to the character panel. This is also this right here, which is this top toolbar. That's the same exact thing. That's the same exact. It works the same exact way. It's really no different. You can change it here, and you honestly can see more. You can see better this way, but I just had to show you. I prefer to do it this way, but I got to show you everything. So that's how I'm doing that. This is one of my favorite fonts. Beavis is how you pronounce it. That's one of my favorites. But so yeah, this is also how you can adjust the font size as well. This right here is the leading, right? So for those of you who are familiar with like paragraph, this is only on one line, so it's not gonna do anything. But let's take this on a separate line. So once again, for all of my people who've been on a computer before, I'm sure you know how to just go on a blank space in between text and then hit enter, and make it, you know, on a separate line. Now notice how it's stacked up like that. That's because my leading is not tall enough. So boom, this is how you adjust how far. And remember what I told you, you could technically make a logo out of this. That could technically be a logo, like, you know, with a little bit more decoration, of course, but let's not get off topic. So that's basically that. That's the leading. If you set it at 0, it's going to be on the same line. So, you know, you can get that just honestly custom to how you want it to look. I really like when like text overlaps like this. I think that looks really nice. Maybe I would add like a little swoosh under here, and that would be nice. But that's how you do that. Now this is kerning between, you know, two characters, and this is the actual tracking and kerning. So this is how you kind of put a little space in between your text. This is for me most commonly used when you want to make a subtle statement. You know, you use maybe some blocky text and make it kind of smaller, but then you set it out like wait, wrong one. And you set it out wide like that, but you're not gonna get the full effect because it's that font. But let me take you to Arial Black. Damn it. So no, I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to mess up the. So if I wanted to make a new line of text, or if I wanted to make new text, I just come over here, drag away from this, and I set it down here. And this is going to be called example. Remember I showed y'all how to change your font. Arial Black, select it. Now, okay, let's use an actual expression word, because I'm actually, once again, I'm trying to actually teach y'all design theory as well too. So boom, you see this word warning, right? And it's kind of right, especially with it right now. It's kind of, if you've seen that, then it's kind of big and in your face, like, wow, okay, well, somebody's warning me, right? But what if you wanted to do a subtle warning? And this plays into, you know, what I was showing you earlier with the spacing out. If you wanted to do a subtle warning, you know, you space that out. Now you see that, and it's not as serious no more, right? I mean, you're still reading it and you're like, warning, what's the warning about? But it's not as serious now. It's kind of subtle now. It's not, you know, because once again, like I'm telling y'all, design is expression, right? Is you're still communicating through design. You're still talking in a way through design. So once again, just notice how that, you know, that feels different. That's big. That's a big warning. And that's just, you know, it still says warning, but it doesn't say it the same way. It's more subtle now. It's just like, you know, it's not a, it's like, you know, not a bad warning. So that's basically what that is. Let's delete that layer, which you just hit delete. So yeah, so that's the type tool. Oh yeah, so also with the type tool, and once again, to select text, you shortcut T, or you select T and you know, select the text or whatever. This is how you make bold, just like in Microsoft Word. This is how you bold text. Now I don't recommend doing it that way, because a lot of fonts, especially if it doesn't have a bold version and you just have to have it bold, then okay. But I said that to say that 90% of the time, if that font is meant to be bold, there's a bold version, even if you have to go out and find it. But most of the time, if it's not meant to be bold or bolder than it is already, then yeah, it probably won't look right anyway. So it's rare that I use that. This is also like in Word, how you italicize. But once again, you rarely need to do that because a lot of fonts, especially fonts that are meant to be italicized or look good italicized, have an italicized, set up here in the variation. So um, this is basically all caps. If you want to do things in all caps, I use that a lot, honestly, especially when I'm at work. Um, this is like kind of like drop case, I believe that's called. But it's the same as all caps except it's drop case in them or whatever. And yeah, we don't really use these at all. I don't use those at all. I do use the underline and I do use the strike through sometimes. So that's pretty much everything you need to know about the type tool for right now. All right. So now that we know a little bit about the type tool, now let's get into kind of, you know, just more. Um, the path selection tool, once again, that's something you really won't need. The rectangle tool, you you can actually double click this and you'll see, because the same principle applies to all of them, including the custom shape tool, and it's basically as simple as that. Building custom shapes, you can do a rectangle, you can do a rounded rectangle, and adjust over here under properties, which is this little symbol right here. You can adjust, you know, adjust the roundness of the corners. Um, Over here under ellipse tool, so which is a circle, you can make a circle. You can make a polygon, a line, and a custom shape. So you can do that all with that tool. And then last but not least, the magnifying tool. Um, Self-explanatory. You hit Alt on a Mac, or I mean Alt on Windows, Option on the Mac to zoom out and click or whatever. A shortcut I like to use is, you know, Command minus or plus to zoom in. Also, to fit everything in view, you're gonna hit Command O to kind of fit your document in view. Like, let's say you're too far in here and you don't feel like doing the 10 little, you know, the 10 little backspaces out to zoom out. You just Command 0 and you're right back, at 100% as far as resolution and size and, just everything like that. So those are some little quick shortcuts that'll save you time. And one quick thing about shortcuts is I'm actually going to attach a shortcuts list. One thing I advise you to do that I didn't do, that would benefit you and help you pass me way faster, is learning those shortcuts and getting them down. Like, practice those shortcuts, because when you think about how long we take to make some of these documents and things like that, you could really like knock off 30 to 45 minutes of just because those little 2 and 3 and 6, 10 seconds it takes you to, find whatever I'm looking for here. If I knew the shortcut for it, and I pretty much know all the shortcuts. It's just not all of them stick. Some of them stick, like, the type tool and everything like that. That type of stuff sticks, but this, for the most part, all of them don't. So I'm gonna attach that sheet, and I really advise y'all to kind of study that and kind of start making it a habit to learn them all, because it'll only benefit you and you'll be able to work way faster. So yeah, that's the zoom tool. So then that takes us to this side of the world, right? Which is properties, which I kind of showed y'all earlier. Whatever layer you have selected, which I'm about to get into now as far as layers. Whatever layer you have selected, it'll kind of show you the properties for. We've seen the type tool. If you don't have anything selected though, it won't do anything. So I think that jumps me right into layers. The layers panel right here, which is the second or I ain't gonna, I'm gonna stop ranking what's more important. This is just another one of those things that you, it's really important that you understand. Layers basically, once again, is self-explanatory. Um, there's different layers of an image. You have the default, which is the background is always going to be whatever your background colors is, and by default it's always white. Um, in foreground, which is why your text is default going to be at black most of the time, or your shapes if you didn't have this wine color in there like before. But um, that's why that's all by default going to be black, and that background is going to be white. Um, then we have our first design layer. You'll know it's a text layer because you have the T and it'll show exactly what it says. This I basically is to, I want to see it, I don't want to see it, I want to see it, I don't want to see it. This over here, if you click in this space, is how you can lock the layer. Or no, I'm sorry. Up here is where you can lock the layer and unlock it. And then this is, the two layers. So right now, because I made all those shapes right at once, it put them on the same layer. So if I hide them, all of them will be gone. But let's make them on different layers. So you select the layer by just really pressing it. So you would delete that layer out, and we're gonna come over here, and the shape tool is the shortcut, and you're gonna double click over here, and you're gonna start with a rectangle. And yeah, since I set it back to default, it did that. So you notice how it made it a new layer down here, right? That is its own layer, so you can hide it. Now, in order to not put shapes on the same layer, you can't have that layer selected when you make a new shape, right? So when I come over here and I do a rounded rectangle, when I come over here and do a rounded rectangle, it's going to be on its own now because I didn't have it, I didn't have that layer selected, so that's basically, how you do that. So I'm gonna add a circle in, an ellipse. Each of them is their own layer. So also with layers, the order they're in, right? Let's see. Let's talk about the order they're in. So we're gonna come over here to our background tool. Remember the paint bucket tool. We're gonna pick a red color. We're gonna come here to the background. Whatever layer you have selected is the one that's taking whatever changes you're doing. So be aware of that. It's not gonna let you do it on that type of layer because that's a shape layer. But here on the background, boom, you change it to red, right? So then you're gonna come here to the rectangle, and let's say you want to change the color of this rectangle. You're gonna hit U, and then you're gonna hit whatever color. And also, you don't have to hit U. You can just select the shape layer once again. But I'm trying to get you in a habit of not doing that and actually using the shortcuts. So I want you to select each one of these layers. And another shortcut to select the layer is to double click in the document, and then you'll have a drop down of which layer you want. And so I go here, I hit U, which once again is the shortcut for the shape tool. Come over here. Oh wow, okay, I'm sorry, I did that wrong. Okay, and these three should be enough to show you what I'm trying to show you as far as with layer order, right? So we can hide this too. So right now, the order of the layers, this is the top. This layer is going to show over everything. Okay, so I'm gonna show you a quick little way to resize. So, and you know, of course, I'm going to show you the long way, and then I'm going to show you the shortcut. So the long way is to go to edit, then free transform. You're going to take it, and you know, you can drag it up and down. Make sure you're holding shift on the corners, like right here, to constrain proportions, because once again, if you don't and you just, you know, you can drag it out, and sometimes that's okay. But you know, when you, let's say you want to move, you want to make this bigger, you know, if you don't hold shift, you know, you could possibly, you know, distort it, and you want to keep it, you know, its same proportion. So you know, that's basically how you resize items. You transform it, and that's either Control T or edit, transform, no, free transform. So there you have it. All right, y'all, so let's jump into our first exercise. What we're gonna make is we're gonna make just a simple image with the image background, text, and then we're gonna throw a simple decoration on top. So let's head back over to Photoshop. Okay, we're gonna close this out. Okay, and we're gonna come here to create new. We're gonna do 1080 by 1080. All right, and then we have the blank document, right? So you always want to, at least for me, you always want to start on a background. You want to start with the background, and then work your way up. So we're gonna come over here. Now you can search Google Images. You can search Google Images. You can use another site that I use called Pexels. It's royalty free images. Yeah, we're gonna use Pexels because another just design theory tip is that the stronger the elements that you're working with, the least the less you have to work to make it, you know, to make it good, right? So um like these images, we okay, cool, this one caught me. Okay, so we're gonna select this image, copy it, bring it over into Photoshop. All right, now of course right there is too big, so remember what we were gonna do. Remember how we said we were gonna resize it? Command T, or go up here to edit, free transform, and then zoom out so you can see your handles. Hold shift so that you can keep it in proportion, and then we're just gonna resize it down to here. All right, then we're gonna command O to kind of zoom it back in. Okay, then hit enter, and then command O. Okay, so boom, right there I have a stunning image, and it's on its own layer. Now let's say we want to kind of do a little darken filter over it. Okay, we're gonna come here to new layer. This is how you create a new layer, or you come up here to layer, new layer, and actually you could actually already have it pre-filled, but we're gonna do it blank for the sake of me showing you what I'm doing here. We're gonna come back over here to our paint bucket tool. Okay, because now let me show you what we got here. We got a blank image. Whenever you see this kind of weird checker pattern, and it's super small, but that's a checker pattern, that means that's transparent. That's a transparent background, and we're gonna get into what that is and what that means in a later video. But let's show these again. So you have a blank, you know, a blank layer. When you hit a new layer, it doesn't have any information, it doesn't have anything. Right now it's basically just invisible. So I'm gonna come here to fill it, And remember, anything you do, the layer you have selected is, you know, what these are working on. So I'm gonna come over here um, to my color palette basically, and I'm gonna select, I'm gonna make it black. Okay, then I'm gonna fill that in with black. Now this is something that I should have touched on earlier, but you know, I once again, this program's it's not complex, it's just a lot of moving parts, but once you master it, it'll be easy. But that's this right here, the opacity. And what that is basically how transparent it is. So I have it at 0 opacity, which means it's back to, you know, back to transparent. If I brought it up to 14, you see it kind of giving it a little tint, and then to 100% is solid black. So that's the next thing I'm gonna do to darken that so that my text can show up better. So I'm gonna do it at about 36. Okay, and you can toy around depending on your image. You may have to, you know, you may have to do yours higher or lower. It just depends on your image and whatever image you pick. But we're gonna go, I said I was gonna go with like 35, 36, something like that. Okay, cool. So now what I want to do is I want to go to my type tool, right? Select T anywhere in here and type, let's see, let me think of a paradise quote. I'll make one up. Paradise is what you make it. And I'm breaking a lot of design rules honestly right now, like with this, but for the sake of example. And this is my body and soul font. I'm using a shortcut to adjust the leading, but I'm gonna do it this way because this is the way you know right now. I'm gonna spread that out a little bit. I'm gonna come up here. This is another thing that I should have touched on when I was talking about type, and that is alignment, right? So it's really over here in paragraph. It's another shortcut up here, but it's basically just how you align the text. So you can do it, you know, you can snap it over here to the right, you can do it centered, or snap it over here to the left. For this example, I'm going to do it centered. Okay, I'm going to control T to transform it because I want it to be bigger. Okay, and then boom. So you have, you know, you have your text. Now that I have it up there, I want to toy with, okay, so I really didn't need as much as I thought because this image has enough darkness to where the white still stands out, but so I'll go to about 24. Okay, and so that's another thing, is that it's always going to be subjective. Like even when you're watching a tutorial, you know, just because it's set at a certain number, you know, you have to take into account that person's document size, all that. So you always want to toy with it yourself until it looks right. Another mistake that I made, you know, when I was learning is, you know, if the guy on the tutorial I'm watching, if his is at 35, I'm putting mine at 35, and you know, his image is lighter than mine. So you know, I would actually need less, you know. So just stuff like that. Then we'll come here and boom, we'll grab the rectangle tool. Remember I showed you how to use that. And then you don't really, because you can kind of eyeball it. Okay, and so then that's by default gonna give you a black square with, you know, all the way filled, which is something I guess I should have touched on again with when I was showing you about the shapes. So basically you have the fill and the stroke here, right? if you take this fill off, which is that's how you do it, or up here, whichever one you choose, um, it has no fill, right? If I do a yellow fill, then it's filled with yellow. If I do a green, it's filled with green. Okay. Then you have the stroke. The stroke is the outline, right? So if I come here with a green stroke, you can't see it right now because it's only set at 1 pixel. And this is basically how you make the stroke thicker. Right, you see that at about 10 pixels, you can see that. So if I wanted it to be yellow, it would be yellow, but in this case I want it to be white, so I'm going to come here and do it white. Okay, so that's honestly, boom. If you were, if you were wanted to stop there, you're done. That's easy. You got your quote, you got your little background, and that's ready to go up on IG. Well, what if you wanted to brand this, right? I'm gonna show you a little bonus thing you can do. And it's also gonna come with another lesson as well. So let's say you want to add your Instagram, or you're posting this on Instagram, so you want to add your YouTube channel, right? We're gonna go find YouTube logo PNG. Now, why am I searching for a PNG, right? Remember those cubes I told you about? That's not a PNG. There it is. You see that checker pattern that I told you about earlier? That means that the background is transparent. So I could grab this, copy it right into my document, and it has no background, right? Now if I went and copied this, I'm gonna have that white square because it's not a PNG. It doesn't have a transparent background. So PNGs have transparent backgrounds. So make sure you kind of think about that and remember that all the time. Is that and you want to find kind of a high res one like this one. So we're gonna copy this. Okay. So let's say you wanted to tag your YouTube, right? So we're gonna, I know y'all know how to copy and paste at this point. You're gonna copy it and come over here to Photoshop. Now you notice that, boom, this number one might not work because we have it on we have the black version. We need the white version. So let's go back over here. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Wow, bro. Or you know what? For example's sake, we're going to use this because it's easy. So you notice where this landed. This landed behind the paradise, and I guess it doesn't matter because it's going to be smaller. But let's take it, Control T, which is free transform it, hold Shift, resize it, move it on down, and set it right here. Kind of align it. I like to align it, and then you come with your type tool again, and okay, well that's kind of big. So in this case is when I would either hide it or lock it. So I'm gonna lock it in this case. So because what happens is let's see, this is kind of a big text area, and when you hit the type tool, and even when you're trying to do like another line of text, it's still fairly close to this, so it thinks you're trying to do that. So you want to lock it and then come down here, and then your YouTube channel is your channel. I'm gonna change the font to Arial Black because that's a more legible font. Okay, so boom, you come here, you transform that again. I'm gonna change that to your YouTube. Okay, and so that's pretty much how you do that. In this case, as far as for design's sake, I would move these two under here, and how I would move those is over here in the layers panel, I would select this layer, and then I would hold Command and select this layer, which is those layers. It's also a really, let me back up for a second. It's also a really good habit to name your layers. So YouTube logo, because I really just by muscle memory knew what layer that was, but a lot of times, especially when you're starting out, you won't know like what layer is what. So it's good to name them. So um, start back up here. We're gonna select your YouTube text, and then we're gonna select that, and then we're gonna hit V, or come over here and select the move tool, and then we're gonna drag this over here to the center, just like that. And now, as far as for me, I'm gonna make this a little smaller after I unlock it. Make this a little smaller so that my text don't seem suffocated. And voila, there you have it. This is ready to go on IG. This was a quick little 5-minute flyer, and you could reproduce this and you know do everything with it. So there that is. Also, if I forgot to cover anything, or if you're stuck on anything, or if you, please critique my teaching style. Right now I hate it, so please critique it and tell me, hey, less mumbling, or less, less small talk and more tutorial. Or if you cool with it and you're like, no, it makes me feel like we're sitting next to each other or whatever, because that's the whole point of this for me, is to make it seem like we're sitting right next to each other while this is going on, while you're learning. So this was it. This was my first tutorial. I'm actually going to do another one tomorrow. I'm going to cover actually a topic of your choice. So I'm going to spend all morning promoting this tutorial, trying to get people to watch it and see what y'all think. So it's your boy. I'm signing out. Thank you so much.